Hello Saturnians, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new, welcome. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do and say hello in the comments so that I know who you are and we can, interact with each other. Alright, so today I want to show you my favorite decks for shadow work. So I have selected 7 decks that I often use for shadow work, and they're not necessarily dark decks, but the images in these decks, they really help me, connect with shadow aspects of my personality or the queer's personality sometimes. So let's get started. The first deck that I want to show you is the Barbara Walker Tarot. I've been using this deck for many years now, and it never fails me. I find the images in this deck so powerful, and it's not necessarily the darkest deck, but if you pay attention to the images, you will find the darkness in it. And that's what I love about this deck, is that the darkness in it is not so obvious. And I really find the images very evocative. Like, this is one of my favorite cards in this deck. It's the Nine of Swords. And see this lady, she's holding on to a tree and she's being judged by these people around her. And if you see, these are religious people judging her. And she's holding on to a tree, but even the tree doesn't look very friendly, you see, with all those branches that look like hands. So I remember I got this card and this one in a very important time of my life. And if you look at this lady, the Princess of Pentacles, she's in the center of a pentagram doing her magic. And this was all about, getting out of my head, because that's the Nine of Swords, and really focusing on the craft, on what I can do with lower magic to solve a situation. And it was this card that kept showing up again and again and again. Right. Death. You see, the images are kind of simple, but they are very poignant. I love this Queen of Swords. It might be my favorite depiction of the Queen of Swords. It's Ceccoli eating the insides of a person. Love this card so much. An interesting Queen of Pentacles as well. And you can see the inverted pentagram in her belly button. Devil, very classic depiction. I love this Ace of Pentacles. There are many images that refer to Kundalini energy in this deck, but they're not that obvious. Not that obvious. Ace of Wands, one of my favorite cards in every deck. Prince of Pentacles, indeed one of my most used tarot decks. I've had it for quite a few years now. Alright, next is the Nicoletta Ceccoli Tarot. And this is an interesting deck because I don't think this deck is actually a dark deck. And I know a lot of people in the tarot community that think that this deck is a little creepy. But for me, it's just a sweet, adorable deck. However, I can understand why some people see it as a dark deck. because many shadow aspects of our personalities are connected to childhood traumas. And the images in this deck, they really trigger childhood memories. You know, this deck has images of children, toys, and things related to the universe of a child. So I use it a lot for inner child work. But of course, as I said, many shadow aspects of our personalities are connected to our childhood traumas, and that's what makes this deck a little dark. So what I do is I pair this deck with another deck to bring about the darkness, the shadows. So Nadia, if you are watching this video, I made this video for you because I know that you absolutely love the combination of the Nicoletta Ceccoli Tarot and the Zombie Tarot. I often use these two decks together, so I want to show you how I work with these two decks. So the Zombie Tarot also has many images that trigger memories of childhood. But this is more like a novelty deck, even though it gives me crystal clear readings every time, every single time. And it looks like a novelty deck, but when you pair it with the Nicoletta Ceccoli Tarot, magic happens. I have another video explaining how I use these two decks together, and in that video I said that I ask my clients to pick two cards, one from each deck, and I want to share with you now what happened when I did this to a client of mine. I asked her to pick one card from the Zombie Tarot and another card from the Nicoletta Ceccoli Tarot, and this is the card that she picked from the Zombie Tarot. You know, this little girl is holding this little boy. And here's the thing, she told me that when she was 7 years old, her twin brother died of meningitis. They both got meningitis, but he died as a result, and she managed to fight the illness. And throughout her childhood, she felt very guilty because as a child, she believed that whatever happened to her brother should happen to her as well because they were twins, and it had been like that for as long as she remembered. So when she saw these cards, it was a very powerful moment because here we literally see a girl holding a zombie boy and also another girl feeling fearful and guilty, and this is exactly the way she felt. So we have two layers of interpretation here. We could interpret that these cards are showing her, you know, embracing her dead brother, or we could interpret that she's still holding on to a feeling and a sensation that no longer serves her, because now she can intellectually understand that it's not her fault her little brother died and she survived. And I asked her to go ahead and pick other two cards, one from the Ceccoli Tarot and another one from the Zombie Tarot. And she got the Magician here and the Ten of Cups from the Zombie Tarot. And if you look closely, you will see a happy family, you know, playing at the beach, but in the background there is an explosion going on with, you know, black smoke. And she said, well, that's me pretending that everything is great, but there is an explosion in the background and I feel like I'm wearing a mask that nobody really gets to know who I am, because I am hiding behind a happy face. So you see how these two decks work well together. In fact, in the Magician card, there is an actual mask. So this deck can get pretty literal. That's how I feel about it. So next, I want to show you the Dark Grimoire Tarot. And this is a deck that I've had for a while, and I only use it to read for myself. I connected with this deck in such a way that the messages seem to be really personalized. It's almost as if it's giving me details about my own life. I love this card. This is the Strength card, and look how the beast is so big, but the lady is still talking to the beast eye to eye. And this relates so much to me. The Wheel of Fortune. I really love this one also. So I feel this deck gives me personalized messages, almost as if the images were made just for me. Look, this Justice card. It's one of my favorite Justice cards ever. It's a voodoo doll. And here's the thing. The other day, somebody called me out in a comment for one of my videos. I think it was the one about how to charge your magic wand. Because in that video, I said that I put a servitor in my wand, and if somebody tries to steal my wand, the servitor is going to hurt that person. So somebody called me out in the comments and said, look, you cannot put a curse on people. That's just wrong. And my reasoning was that, it's not a curse, because I'm not going out of my way to hurt somebody. But if somebody attacked me first, and look, if they chose to steal my wand, that means that their intention towards me was never the best, right? So I would not attack anybody first, but if I am attacked, then I think I have the right to protect myself, and I have the right to return to them the same intent that they had towards me. So that's Justice card, right? This card came to mind as I was replying to that person, that at the end, this is a self-inflicted curse. I'm not cursing the person. The person is cursing themselves. When they decided to steal my wand, they were putting themselves at risk of being attacked. And this is justice. It's a fair representation of justice. So that's why I love this card so much. Knight of Swords. I love these images. Seven of Pentacles. So he's writing something completely unaware that there is a creature behind him, maybe even inspiring his thoughts. So sometimes I actually see this card as if sometimes your thoughts are not your own, Three of Pentacles, collaborating with the demons. Eight of Wands. I feel that this deck gives me pictures of my own life, as if somebody had taken a photo of a given moment and turned them into tarot cards. This is what is so bizarre about these decks, in my opinion. So here's an interesting thing. I found two similar cards in the Zombie Tarot and the Dark Grimoire Tarot. But one is the Eight of Swords and the other one is the Eight of Pentacles. But in both cards, there are people inside, trapped inside a witch bottle. And I think this is talking about my practice, because I do a lot of bottle magic. And if I find a little video of me making a witch bottle, I'm going to put up here somewhere so that you can see how similar it turned out. It almost feels as if somebody took a picture of me making a witch bottle and turned it into a tarot card. Of course, that a tarot deck doesn't exist solely because of me. This is not what I'm saying. But I don't know how to interpret these cards for another person, because I feel, the way I connected with this deck is as if was extracting images from my own life. So it's hard for me to use the Dark Grimoire Tarot for other people, even though I use the Zombie Tarot for other people a lot. Okay, so now I want to show you the Bosch Tarot. And this is another deck that I like very much, because the art of Hieronymus Bosch is all about hells and bizarre creatures and demons, but there is an element of mockery also in these cards. And look at this creature. This totally looks like my cat when I save a bird from his mouth. Sometimes my cat goes hunting for birds and lizards in my garden, and I try to save the birds when I see this happening. And this is exactly how my cat looks when I take the bird from his mouth, or the lizard, or whatever he's trying to eat. And isn't it a perfect representation of the Four of Wands? I love it. And it's at the same time dark, bizarre, but also kind of funny. This Ten of Pentacles, this is literally a creature pooping a coin. And to be fair, I think that we all should deal with money like this. Yes, so I think this is a very interesting deck. It's very dark, but also not so serious. And to be honest, I think this is a good way to face our own shadows. Of course, we have to face our shadows. We have to, get to know our shadows. But also do not take that so seriously all the time. Because if we are actually acknowledging these aspects of our personalities, we are way ahead of the game. Because many people go through life without even noticing. So I feel that sometimes we are so serious about doing shadow work that we forget that, it's okay. Everybody has shadows. Every single person has shadows. And we are trying to confront them. So we are ahead of the game. We're way ahead of the game. So I really like to sit with these cards and have a conversation with them. Okay, so next I have the Mythologia Fennica Tarot. And this is fairly new. This was a gift from my friend Honey over at Fierce and Pretty. Thank you so much. I love this deck. And it's a completely different system. I am studying it But in the process of studying this deck, I realized that this deck is perfect for shadow work. Perfect. The images in this deck somehow trigger for me memories, emotions, and sensations that are connected to shadow aspects of my personality. And I don't think this is a dark deck necessarily. I don't think it was created with the purpose of being a shadowy deck. But this is how things are unfolding for me at the moment. And the more I work with it, the more I study it, the more I do daily draws with this deck, the more I see how it speaks straight to my shadow. And here is one of my favorite cards, Domestic Snakes. How interesting. I kept getting this card when I was studying this deck. And there are creatures in our lives that we are so used to them. We treat them as pets. They eat your food. They walk around freely in your house. But we must not forget that they are wild animals, the snakes. And it doesn't matter how much you are loving and caring towards them. Wild animals will eventually bite you and even eat you if given the opportunity. So these snakes up here, they might be eating your food, hanging out in your garden, being your friend, talking to you every day. But we must not forget that you never become friends with certain species. Given the opportunity, the snake is going to bite, So it took me a while to figure out what this card was talking about. And the more it came up in my readings, the more I realized that the enemies are closer than we think. Yeah, interesting card, this one. Witch's Circle. Even the names, the keywords in the cards relate to many aspects of my life. So I really, really love these. I am studying this deck before I do readings for other people using it. But again, this is one of those cases that, the images relate to my life personally. Like the Wheel of Fortune here in the Dark Grimoire Tarot. It's about the Witch's Circle. The Shaman, I love this card so much. Such beautiful colors in this deck. Yeah, this is a beautiful one. Mountain Trolls. A circle around the fire, something I do all the time in my practice. I put up a fire and then I go around it. Mieliki. The North Star. This deck surprises me every single time. Every time. Finally, I am going to show you the Starman Tarot. And I use this deck to explore my shadows through psychedelics because, as some of you already know, some kinds of psychedelics are legal, cheap and available in Brazil, like ayahuasca. And I take ayahuasca regularly. And I've been having the craziest ayahuasca trips, and I got this deck because the images in this deck resemble the images that I see when I am under the effect of ayahuasca. And I have 2 full videos about this, so if you want to check out, I'm going to leave the links down below in the description box. But I use this deck to explore my shadows, try to understand the stuff that is surfacing under ayahuasca bad trips. And this deck works wonderfully for that, because the images are really similar to the images I see under the effect. So I always feel like I'm trapped in this virtual reality game, and the colors, the digital art is so similar to the whole scenario, to the vibe and the energy surrounding my ayahuasca experiences. So this is another deck that if I had to read for other people using this deck, I would have to learn it again, because it only relates to my own experiences. But it's an interesting journey for sure. But I still think this is in the category of tarot decks for shadow work, because when I take psychedelics, it's as if I am going through some very bizarre surgery, and all this stuff that is boiling inside of me and that I hide under the rug of my subconscious mind, all of that surfaces, and then I am left to deal with it afterwards, and this deck is helping me with that. So that's it. I want this video to be short, so I'm just gonna show you 7 tarot decks. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.